So in this video today, I'm just going to cover everything that you'll need to run an online sales call. So basically, if you're a beginner, you're new to sales, perhaps you've got your own business, you're an online coach, you're an agency owner, you're a school community owner, or you've just got an online business and you're not too sure how to sell. Hopefully this video will give you some pointers on what you need to have, what you need to do, make your sales call process a little bit better and help you close some more deals. So the first thing that I want to look at is your setup. So I've seen a lot of people kind of get this wrong. I've joined sales calls with people before who've been running them on their phones and talking to you while walking about. Definitely don't do that. Have a quiet space. It doesn't have to be an office. It can be a bedroom or a kitchen or something like that, but make sure it's quiet. Make sure you've got your camera set up to eye level. So it doesn't mean it has to be eye level like this, but so they can see your face, they can see your shoulders, they can see who they're talking to. If you're in a noisier place, try use headphones to keep the noise down a little bit, especially if you're working from like a cafe or something like that. Try just look presentable, make sure your hair looks good, make sure you're wearing a clean t-shirt or a polo shirt or a dress or whatever it might be. Just make sure you look presentable for the call. And most importantly, make sure that you have somewhere with stable Wi-Fi. There's nothing worse than joining a call with someone where it's lagging or they keep having to drop out and join and rejoin, or they can't get the camera to load because the internet's so slow. So that is an essential thing you must have, is a good Wi-Fi connection. So once you've done all of that, which I would say is all pretty self-explanatory, just treat an online call as if it was an in-person meeting with someone. Just dress the part, make sure that you look presentable and be friendly when the person joins. The second thing here is before the call. So you want to make sure that you've actually done some research into the prospect. So it may be a case, especially if they're a school community member, that you don't have too much information on the prospect. So just get what you can. Make sure you, when you turn up, you sound like you're prepared. You sound like you know what you're talking about. See if they've got an Instagram profile or a LinkedIn profile or a website or whatever it might be. Just try and gather as much information about them as possible. The next thing you want to have is a structure and an agenda. So I had a conversation with someone yesterday in the community and they say, oh, I don't really have a sales structure. I don't really need it. And as we kind of talked through their process in more detail, it turned out that they were running every single call differently. So when it came to actually assessing their performance, seeing where they're at, seeing what they need to improve, they had no idea because, like I said, every call was different. So you have to have a structure. It doesn't have to be extremely rigid, but what I mean by structure is that you have a beginning of the call, you have like the introduction, you lay out the agenda for the call, you start a quick discovery, just understanding about why they're on the call, what problem they have, what it is that they want to resolve, go into your presentation, then go into the objection handling / closing, and then map out the next steps. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. Keep it simple as possible, especially again if you haven't run many sales calls, just so that again when you're looking back on your call recordings or your transcripts, you can then focus on parts of the call where you thought you were weak, so you can obviously keep working on that to improve it. The next thing to do is confirm the bookings that they show up. So an hour before, have an automated reminder that goes out, and 10 minutes before too. But just drop them an email or give them a call on the same day as well. Just put, hey, just want to make sure you can still make the call today. Just get them to confirm. Make sure you turn up 5 minutes early as well. There's nothing worse than if you're looking to join a sales call as the prospect and the person who you're meant to be speaking with turns up late, just looks like they're not prepared and they're flustered and they're trying to like get into the rhythm of it, and it just feels really awkward and sets a bad tone from the start. So just always make sure you're early. And one way to do this as well is you can put a setting in your calendar on Google Calendar, Microsoft Calendar, I can't remember the name, Outlook Calendar, where that when people book in a call, it adds a buffer after the call so that if you do overrun, you're not straight into another call. So look into setting that up as well, because again, you don't want to be back to back to back on sales calls too. You want to have a bit of a gap in between just so you can kind of refresh yourself, have a glass of water, make sure you've got the research up for the next prospect so you can go into every single call prepared, because you're better off to space them out and perhaps have less in a day than have loads at once and you're ill prepared, you're rushing through it and you're flustered. And finally, make sure again your phone's turned off or it's on silent or it's away from your desk. Have other tabs closed. Make sure you've got your full focus on the prospect. Don't be looking at different screens or having a chat with someone. Like I've joined calls before where someone's having a chat with someone else in the room while you're on the call with them, and yeah, like instantly like, well, I'm obviously not going to buy from this person if they can't even make the effort to speak to me for 30 minutes. Probably isn't going to be a fit, because what's the attention going to be like afterwards? So just remember, the impression that you're making on the call is also how they'll view the company or your business or whatever it might be. So just make sure that you make the best effort you can to do this properly. Don't get me wrong, there may be a case where there's an interruption, someone walks into a room or something like that. Absolutely fine. Don't let that throw you off. But again, you can kind of acknowledge that and just don't make a habit of doing so. The next thing is running the call step by step. So I said here to have a structure. I've put together a pretty basic one here for you to kind of copy. So you have the open build report. I don't mean by this saying, or like, what's your kid's name, or like, how's your week been, or you got any holidays planned, or anything like this. Prospects will see through this because, again, they'll just think, well, why would they care? They don't even know me. Just be friendly, like, hey, like, whereabouts are you based, or something like that, and then be like, cool. Hope you don't mind if we dive straight into it, but this is the agenda for the call. This is typically how I run these. Is that okay with you? And they were like, yep. And okay, cool. Dive straight into it. And then you then want to do your discovery. So then just discover about them, really. You want to learn about your prospect. And this part is often overlooked. This is one of the most important parts of the call. And your full focus on this should be finding out, first of all, is the prospect a fit? Is the solution, service, product, whatever it might be, aligned with what they need? And once you can kind of build the picture in your head as to like, cool, so this is the problem they have, this is the desired outcome they want, this is what they've tried before, this is why this is so essential to them. That's one, again, that people tend to miss out on. What is the motive behind this? Find out all that information. You can then look to build the gap. But one final point before we get onto that with the discovery is, as part of your structure, have some essential questions that you need to ask a prospect every time to build that picture out. And the way you can kind of figure these out is just work backwards. So for someone to be a fit for your solution, what do they need to have? Like all these different things, it's kind of hard to outline that without kind of knowing what your offer is, but work backwards, like what do they need to have, where do they need to be based, what time commitment do they need to have, all things like this. Again, this will be case by case, but there's just a few rough ideas. Once you have that, put that into your structure, and then basically each time just make sure you're asking those questions, getting the answers, so then that will then help you when we move to the next part. So point 3 is building the gap. So it's like, cool, so you've told me all of this, repeat it back to them. So you're here and you want to get to here in X time frame. They might not have given you a time frame. That's a good opportunity to ask as well. And they'll be like, yep, cool. And then just out of interest, if where you are now doesn't change in that time period, what would that mean for you? Oh, well, I won't have time to see the kids, or the business will go under, or I won't have any cash flow, or all these different things. And once they're saying that, they're then starting to sell themselves and justify to themselves why they need to make this change to happen. So that's a really powerful question you can ask at that point too. Then once you've got those 3 things ticked off, it's then time to present. So then it's when you dive into your presentation or your demo or whatever it might be and say, look, like, this is a solution we have, this is how it works, this is the time commitment expected, etc., etc. And then once you get to the end, be like, cool, and the total investment for this is X. Once you say that, just sit back quietly, wait until they speak. And you may have heard from people saying, like, whoever speaks first loses. In your case, as the sales rep or as the business owner or the entrepreneur, just say the price, just very casually. So the total investment is this. Say it with some confidence. Then just sit back and then let them speak next. And don't try to kind of preamble into objection handling and like, oh, but people often say, just tell them the price, keep it casual. Then they'll say, oh, okay, cool. I'm not sure if I can afford this, or I need to think about it, and that kind of stuff. That's when we move into point 5, which is objections and objection handling. So if they say I need to think about it, like, oh, no problem at all. Makes sense that you need to think about something like this. Just so I can help you out though, with perhaps some more information. What specifically is it that you need to think about? Oh, well, I don't know if I have the time I can commit to this, or I need to speak to a partner, or whatever it might be. But if you actually ask questions around that, don't try to sell them. Just ask them in a friendly manner. Ask the questions, and from that point, you'll then surface the real objection. And that may be a case of, oh, well, I tried something like this before and it didn't work. I just don't know if I can justify the cost, just in case it doesn't work. And that's why at this point you should have something like a guarantee, which will reverse the risk, which again we go through in more detail in our school community. But just off the top of my head here, you could say, oh, well, that's not a problem, but if we work together for X time frame, 30, 60, 90 days, and you don't get the results, not a problem at all. We'll work with you for free until we get you the results, or we'll give you a full refund. Whatever it might be, again, has to be aligned with your offer and the nature of it so that it fits. You're like, cool, we'll give you this guarantee, and then the prospect will then relax. Because what you have to remember, a lot of times prospects don't buy, not because it isn't a fit for them, just because out of fear, they don't want to invest the money, they don't feel confident that it will work. So if you can use things like guarantees to put them at ease and make them feel relaxed, you'll be amazed at how much your close rate increases. And then finally, just ask the sales cycle, are we ready to move forward with this? We're ready to rock and roll. However you want to say it, just find a way of saying it that you feel natural saying it and it feels comfortable for you. Don't try copy like an online closer or something who has their way, because it won't feel natural for you, and the prospect will notice that as well. Just say like, hey, are you ready to move forward with this? Ask for the sale, and then if they say, yep, ready to go, be like, cool. I'm going to send you over the details for how they want to pay. It may be a case you have a school community they can pay there, and then you can just like pull up the link and send it to them to buy on the call. However you need to do to collect payment, that's completely up to you. Once that's done, then just be like, cool, I'm going to pop you over some details of the next steps. This is what's going to happen next. Let them know what's going to happen the next sort of 7, 14, 21 days. So they're not sat there scratching their head being like, cool, I give them my money. What happens now? Always make sure the prospect is aware of what's happening. On the flip side, if you ask the sale, they say no, maybe a case you need to handle a couple more objections, or they say, oh, look, I actually can't agree to this and I need to go speak to whoever it is, my accountant or whatever it might be. I'm like, okay, not a problem at all. That's absolutely fine. What we can do then is just book in a follow-up call. So once you had a chance to speak with them, we can catch up again, just we don't lose track of this. And they'll be like, yep, cool. So then make sure you book a meeting from a meeting, get another call in the diary, get a next step in, and then take it from there. And then finally, on camera and delivery as well. So once you've kind of got your setup right, you've done your pre-call prep, you've got the structure, when you're on the camera, just be relaxed, be casual. It's just a conversation. Remember, you're not pitching at this person. You want to be asking them questions. They want to be doing the vast majority of the talking. You're just there to understand, is this person a fit for what we do? And then you've then got an obligation to try help that person if they are. Then just be calm. Don't try to be keen and pushy. And if someone says an objection, don't take it personally. Like, it's not a slight on you. Remember that. I've been on some calls where you say, oh, to be honest, I don't really think this is what I'm looking for. And the person will get really angry. It's like, oh, definitely not going to buy now, but sure. And then just be slow down, pause, just like have a conversation with the person. And if you basically cover all of this on the call, and if you remember all 4 points, you'll be absolutely fine. It will go well, and chances are you'll start to make a few sales. If, however, you're not too confident in this, or you want some more help, or you want a more in-depth structure you can follow, and also some help around objections and closing and that kind of stuff, we do have the Closing Clinic, which is our free school community that you can join and jump in. In there, we have some free modules you can go through to learn how to improve your offer, your pre-call prep, and also your sales call frameworks as well. But if you want some kind of coaching and help with this, we do have some pay packages we can help you and work with you closely to make sure everything gets fixed and help you continuously improve until you get to the point where you're closing sales out and thinking about it. But yep, hope this video was useful, and if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below, and see you in the next one.